Hey guys, Damron here. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my best tips and tricks and reasons why women overeat or struggle with binge eating. I get it, this is a really common problem and I've struggled with overeating in my life as well. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, hit that button to be notified anytime I post new content relating to women's health, hormones, or holistic health. You guys, binge eating and overeating is a really super common problem that so many women that I work with as patients have. They want to eat healthy, they want to lose weight maybe even, but this urge to overeat and binge is just constantly there, or maybe you're in sort of like this restrict binge cycle. So we're going to chat about all of those things. I have kind of a unique perspective on this because I've divided it into setting the stage for success and then kind of like what to do once it happens or once you're having that urge. So let's go ahead and dive in. So in my opinion, I first want to sort of set the stage here between physiological hunger and psychological hunger. So physiological hunger is like that gnawing sensation that's in your tummy that's kind of come on over, the last couple hours. Maybe you had a meal a couple hours ago. You've kind of started to notice it, very slowly come on. You're like, yeah, I should eat here in a little bit, but I'm not like, having this really strong urge to eat. I could probably wait a little bit. That is more like physiological hunger. Now, you don't want to let that physiological hunger get to a place where you're just ravenous, starving on a hunger scale of 0 to 10. You're like a 0, you could eat anything in front of you, because that is going to set the stage for your brain to kind of go into fight or flight and feel like in this scarcity or deprivation mindset with food. But that is more physiological. It's not so urgent. It's not so intense. Emotional hunger or psychological hunger tends to be that. You're just like, you've eaten, you don't have that gnawing sensation in your stomach, but you're something in your brain that's just like, eat, go. You need to go to the cabinet right now and you need to eat food. That's more of like a psychological hunger and something that we need to be aware of. So when I have patients that are struggling with these things, the first thing that I tell them to do is actually just ask yourself if you're hungry. If you are, running to the pantry and you're wanting food, ask yourself first, like, am I actually hungry, or is this more emotional hunger? And even rate it on the hunger scale. So in the book, Intuitive Eating by Evelyn Tribole, which is my first introduction to any of these concepts, I learned it in college. She talks about this hunger scale, 0 being you're so ravenous you could eat anything that came in front of you, and 10 being that you're so full that you want to unbutton your pants. And we really want to eat, we want to start eating around a 2 or a 3. So we definitely have that feeling in our gut where we're kind of like, yeah, I'm feeling like the hunger pains and things like that, but we're not ravenous. Then we want to eat until we get to about a place of an 8. So you are satisfied, you're satiated, you could eat more, but you don't need to. And that's kind of where we want to insert the mindfulness here, because so much about overeating and binging is about mindfulness in several different areas. So insert the mindfulness consistently about asking yourself, am I physically hungry, emotionally hungry? Where am I on the hunger scale? And if you're not actually hungry, you're like, no, I'm not hungry. I just really want to eat right now. I just have a strong urge. I want you to kind of take it one step further and ask yourself what you actually are feeling. Are you bored? Are you angry? Are you anxious? Are you scared? Are you angry? Are you resentful? Are you envious? There's something probably driving that in terms of those types of emotions that your body is like, let's get rid of this. We don't want to feel this. We need to shove this down. And food's a great way to do that. Food actually can produce some dopamine for us sometimes, and it can shove those emotions down that we don't want to feel. So the next step, like I mentioned, is to actually just identify what it is. So, yep, I'm feeling really bored, and that feels really uncomfortable. For a lot of us, boredom feels super uncomfortable, not just for kids, but adults too. So a lot of people will eat when they're bored. A lot of people also eat when they're tired or angry or anxious or stressed. Any of those things are common triggers to eat food when you're not hungry. So I want to kind of take a step back here and go to the setting the stage for eat for success here. So when we set the stage for success with physiological hunger, we want to do a few things. We want to eat in regular intervals. If you're somebody, like this was me in college, I would try to lose weight and I would try to wait like all day. I would eat like 100-calorie pack or like a cheese stick or like a yogurt or something like that. And that would be like my meal until about 4 or 5 o'clock. And I was just ravenous. And so I'd go home and try to cook like a decently healthy dinner. But in the process, I was so hungry that I would graze the cabinets and have handfuls of cereal and other little bites, licks, and tastes of things because I was so hungry. And it ended up being virtually like 3 meals because I would eat before, I would eat the dinner, and then I would eat again at night. And so it ended up being 3 meals that I had in like a few hour period, whereas I skipped food all day long. So you really do, I know it feels scary for so many people, but you really do want to set the stage of the day with like waking up with a balanced breakfast. That's gonna help with your blood sugar. It's gonna help kind of turn off the fight or flight response. It's gonna help give you protein, keep everything balanced. So start your day with like a good quality protein, fat, fiber type of breakfast. And then again, eat a balanced lunch as well. That will also help. And then eat a balanced dinner. The more that we can eat just balanced and stable throughout the day, that's going to set the stage physically to not want to overeat and binge, because we can really rarely ever override our brain. If your brain is ravenous, it's going to make you get whatever's in front of you. And that will typically lead to overeating and binging because we've deprived ourselves. We think that food's super scarce and we're starving. So never a good combination for overeating and binging. The other thing that I think is super important with this is if we're in a place of like the diet culture where we're thinking that food is bad, we're trying to eat perfectly all the time. I just had a patient that we talked about this the other day. She was trying to eat perfectly all day, like just the perfect healthy foods, trying to lose weight. And then at night, she would just get to a place where she was sick of it, and she'd been white knuckling it all day long. And she would open up the pantry or open up the freezer and have way too much ice cream or just graze on the pantry all night. And she was frustrated with herself because she didn't understand why. And part of the reason why was because she was trying to be so perfect all day that her brain felt like it was in this place of deprivation and scarcity. And so your brain's wired to what it can't have is what it wants. And so if you tell yourself no, no, no to carbohydrates or sugar or grains or gluten or, fries or candy or cakes or baked goods, if you consistently say no, 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 you're going to get to a point where like that becomes so hard and your willpower runs out and you just go for it. I know that was my exact experience when I was doing the Atkins diet. I had enough willpower to last me about 2 months actually, which was really great. But then once that willpower ended, I went through a stressful night and I was like, I just need some comfort food. And so I had French toast, and I swear to you, like it never went back to how it was for a decade. And I remember one night eating like so many brownies because I just was like, oh my gosh, I just haven't had this for so long and this is so bad, but yet tastes so good. And that was sort of like the pattern that I had for a really long time because I was in that binge restrict cycle. So the more that you restrict, the more likely you are to overeat and binge. And then you binge and overeat, and then you feel guilty and shame. And so then you really want to restrict. And this nasty cycle just goes on and on and on, and it's perpetuating each other. So we overcorrect, by restricting, and then that leads to another overeat session or binge, and then we feel bad, so then we restrict more. So I want you to, we got to break the cycle somewhere. So setting the stage up with 3 balanced meals. And I know when somebody told me you need to eat more for breakfast, you're eating like 100 calories and then, 200 calories for lunch. I'd had like 300 calories by the time it was dinner time. And like I said, I was ravenous. And somebody told me, you need to set the stage, like start your day with more food, get full so that you don't do that. And that was terrifying to me because I didn't think that I had the willpower to actually stop at night. So I was like, okay, so if I eat all this food in the daytime, like get 1,000 calories before dinner, if I ate, a 500 calorie breakfast and then a 500 calorie lunch, that's 1,000 calories already. And I was, of course, in my 20s trying to eat 1,200 a day or 1,500. Like that was really scary because I was like, that is not enough food for me to be okay at night. I need a lot of calories at night because I was used to sort of like that binge restrict cycle. But I promise you, once you start to like shift your food earlier in the day, that pattern becomes less and less. You don't need that food at night because you're satisfied and you're satiated, and a normal dinner is fine. You don't need to be thinking about food all the time. And if you are thinking about food all the time, there's a good chance that you're probably eating too little calories. I want to also preface this with you guys. I am not a mental health professional. If you feel like you're struggling with binge eating disorder or any sort of eating disorders, please reach out to a mental health professional and get the true help that you need. But this is just my experience and things that I've noticed with patients so that I can help kind of teach you what's actually leading into this. So if you feel like you're somebody who's emotional eating all the time, like I mentioned before, you want to figure out what that is. Is it typically like boredom, anxiety, fatigue? Are you just exhausted and you can't go back to bed because you have little kids running around or a big job or something and you can't, and so you have to just eat to give yourself glucose? Is it more like anger, resentment? We need to figure out what is like the biggest sort of trigger for you. And it might be different things at different times, but you might start to notice a pattern if you start to kind of stop yourself, insert that mindfulness, and then identify and validate it. So what I always tell my patients to do is, again, go back to the hunger scale, ask yourself if you're hungry. If you're not hungry, but you're just really wanting food right now, you're standing in front of the pantry and just needing it in like a really big way, then I want you to identify what you are feeling. Identify that and then validate it for yourself and say, you know what, it's okay. The next step is to be okay with that feeling. So if it's boredom, yes, it's uncomfortable and our brain hates to feel uncomfortable, but some discomfort is part of life and it's okay to feel that. It doesn't mean that it's dangerous. It doesn't mean that you're being chased by a bear, and it doesn't mean that you need to get rid of it by shoving food down your throat. It simply means that it's uncomfortable and you're bored, and let's figure out a solution to the boredom versus just shoving that feeling down with food. So I think that the same thing goes for anxiety and anger and fear and, stress, all the things. Identify what it is, validate, hey, this is really uncomfortable. I hate feeling angry, but it's okay. It's a normal part of the human experience. We're okay feeling this. May not be comfortable, we may not love it, but we are safe to feel it. And then go do something with that anger. You can go on a walk, go take a bath, go read, go cuddle with somebody. Hugging, touching releases oxytocin, which feels really good. But the biggest thing is tell your brain that it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. These things are normal and safe, and we shouldn't run from them. We shouldn't repress them. We shouldn't alter them, get them to go away, modify any of these things. We need to be teaching our brain that, hey, even though this is a little uncomfortable, we're still okay. So I think that's the biggest thing. And if you still are like jonesing for food and you've done these steps and you're like, yep, I know that this is stress. I know I'm stress eating, but I really want that Twinkie in the cabinet. I want you to put it on a plate. Don't just eat out of the pantry. Put something on a plate, your snack, go sit at the table and actually eat it. And then after you're finished with it, go throw everything away, clean up after yourself, and then go occupy yourself for 20 minutes. Even if you want more. If you want more food, that's okay, not a big deal, but go occupy yourself for 20 minutes to just kind of like let your stomach settle a little bit, insert some mindfulness, and if you're still really pining after this food and need more, go through that entire process again. Am I hungry? What am I on the hunger scale? Nope, not hungry, just ate. So what am I actually feeling? Identify that, validate it, and then put your food on a plate, on a napkin, in a bowl, sit down at the table to actually enjoy it. Don't get on your phone, be present with your food so that you can insert that mindfulness of like touching it, tasting it, all of those things. And that will help kind of slow down the process for you. It becomes very like conditioned and second nature to be like, okay, brain feels uncomfortable, have no idea why, but brain feels uncomfortable. We just go to the pantry, start eating whatever out of the box or out of the container, and we have no mindfulness until like we are absolutely stuffed or just we're done, and then we feel really guilty and shameful. So when you put your food on the plate or the napkin or in the bowl, you're consciously just making the decision to do that, which is much more of a process than just eating something out of the pantry or out of a bag or container or something like that. So I do think that like plating your food is super, super helpful at sort of slowing down this process. Okay, I hope this video was helpful for you guys. Like I said, set the stage for yourself. Question the diet, please. Don't put all these foods on this huge pedestal to where, oh, I can't have these. I really want them, but I can't have them. They're so good, but they're so bad. That's what's gonna set the stage for binging and overeating on these types of food. We gotta like normalize them that You know, you can have a piece of cake whenever you want to. You're an adult. It can be there whenever. You don't need to have 6 pieces of the cake because you're never going to get it again. That's sort of called like the Last Supper mindset. If you are struggling with this, get the book Intuitive Eating by Evelyn Tribole. It's one of like the pioneer books on intuitive eating, and it's really helpful at sort of like normalizing this, and she has a bunch of really great suggestions. If you also want help with this, you can definitely go to a mental health professional. If you're really struggling with like a binge eating disorder, that can be the best place to go as well. So I hope this was helpful. If you have friends and family who are struggling with this or need help with this issue, shoot them over this video and share this information with them. I also have a course that's called Heal Your Hormones Masterclass, which is all about hormone healing. So we do talk about nutrition and sort of the anti-diet culture, how to lose weight sustainably and realistically, what to eat on your plate, how to eat food to support your hormones and digestive process. All the things are in that course. So that course is allidarman.com/heal if you're interested in that. And I will see you guys in the next one.